Hi, welcome back to my channel. This is the second video that I'm going to be doing today. This video is about Professor R2 as well. Now, if you haven't been caught up, Professor R is my mythology and folklore professor. He's the same professor from the Demon Shackle video, the Haunted Church video, the Gargoyle video. Okay, so this is the same professor. The same people that were in the other videos are definitely going to be a part of this, except for Candace. She's the only person that's not going to be in this story or this story time or whatever. This story time is going to involve me, Professor R, B, and this other girl. We'll call her May. Okay, May. She is going to be a part of this story too. Okay, and so Professor R, it's rainy season, it's fall, it's like he's feeling some type of way. Okay, and he comes to class all ditzy and droopy one day. He wants us to ask him what's wrong with him, just like he wanted us to ask him what was wrong with him in the Gargoyle video too as well. Professor R, he does this to us. Okay, and so he wants us to ask him what's going on. He wants us to ask him, what's the deal, blah blah blah. And he said that he know that everybody's gonna be going, out for their families for Thanksgiving and stuff like that. He just really wished that he could do something for his students to let them know like how thankful he was for them. So he wanted to invite us to a dinner. Yes, his wife wanted to cook a dinner. She wanted to invite the students, the class, the people, but everybody wasn't going to be able to show up because a lot of people was going out of town to see their family. A lot of people was going to be cooking for their own family or doing other stuff or whatever, so they wasn't going to be able to show up. So it was the day before Thanksgiving, so that way he wouldn't like do it on Thanksgiving or whatever, but it was the day before Thanksgiving and we all was invited to come to his house, and his wife had cooked, and he has a beautiful home, very eccentric. He has an office, he has a library. It looked real mythological in his house. Okay, a lot of statues, a lot of swords, a lot of books, a lot of no dust though, because I don't know. Professor R is just not like the dusty book kind of guy. He's more so of the polished maximalist type of guy. I think that's how you say it. I think that's how you say it. And so me, May, B, we all decided to keep talking to Professor R, like on a daily basis or whatever, just regular, until the party had came the day before Thanksgiving. Okay. And so Professor R, he was telling us about how he had brought a property, and the property was supposedly next to a haunted property. Now, this haunted property, he was obsessed with this ghost. Okay, we'll call this ghost Madeline. Okay, he was obsessed with Madeline ever since he had seen her picture. And he believes in past life, so he believed that he knew Madeline in the past life, and he also believed that she was some type of like lover of his or something, and they just never got a chance to meet in this lifetime because maybe she didn't reincarnate or he didn't meet her or whatever. And so he had already told us about his obsession with Madeline. And I mean, we did kind of feel like it was a little funny because he was married, but we didn't say anything because it was Professor R. I mean, he's so eccentric. Like, we didn't even know like if he had possibly even told his wife about this, like, because he was just that kind of guy. And so we didn't, who are we? That's who are we? What are we going to do with Professor R if he wants to, do his own thing? Who are we? So we're talking to Professor R about Madeline. He's telling us about the news clippings that he have of her. He's telling us about how he knows that she's at the property next door to his. He's telling us about how he basically deceived his wife into moving into next door to somebody that he think is his boo. Okay. And so Professor R is like on the brink of getting in trouble because he's courting Madeline. Yes, he's courting Madeline. He's leaving out flowers, he's leaving out roses, he's trying to make contact with Madeline. So he's like sitting he was sitting in his shed having candlelight dinners that Madeline did not show up to, but he still was just present to have them just in case if she wanted to and make some kind of contact with him. So this was romantic based, okay? And his wife, come to find out, didn't know nothing about none of this stuff. So we coming up to the brink of, the day before Thanksgiving. And Professor R, he's already kind of like talking funny a little bit as if his wife is like really not into the whole day before Thanksgiving thing, but they're still gonna have it. And we're kind of confused because she was the one that was like really, really pushing him to, like show his students how he was thankful for them, especially after the gargoyle scepter like situation, because we really did help him because he really believed that he was being haunted. You know what I'm saying? So we helped him, and she believed Professor R. Even if B doesn't believe Professor R, his wife does. Okay, so she believed that Professor R really was being haunted too, and we did help him. Okay, and so we was kind of like feeling some type of way because we like, what's the problem? Like, why y'all getting into it and blah blah blah? Because it's like B, he had called Professor R. And then Professor R was acting funny on the phone, so he called my phone and asked me to call Professor R to see if Professor R was just acting funny toward B, but he was acting funny toward me too on the phone because he was arguing with his wife over Madeline. She had found out about it. Okay, she had found out about it. She found him, she caught him in the shed having the candlelight dinner thingies that he was going to go have, and he had lied and told her that he was studying for something else totally different, and he just needed his alone time in the shed because he didn't want any noise, because he really had to like spiritually connect to what he was studying. Come to find out, what he was studying was somebody that he thought was his boo. Okay, so she was mad about this. She was very upset. She was upset because she had moved from her hometown, like, well, not town, but like space, her home space. Like, her family and friends like lived in the neighborhood that they had moved from to move near this new property or whatever that Madeline was next door to, and she was upset about that. She was upset that he never even told her about Madeline. She was upset that he's sitting up here trying to make contact to some old twin flame soulmate mess behind her back, and she thinking that she's his twin flame, she's his soulmate, and she's just upset. She's so mad. And Professor R finally told B this stuff. He never told me, but he told B or whatever. He had started opening up to B because B had started getting closer to Professor R. He had eventually became his apprentice when we had taken all of Professor R class that we could take, and we couldn't be his students anymore. So B just started being an apprentice of his. Okay. And so they got paid to do like weird stuff, like the stuff that I'm talking to you about in these videos, which is crazy because people actually pay people to do stuff that they believe in. They really do. They really do. So they were like really, really tight by this time because, I mean, this is our last, go round with him. Like, B has done Mythology and Folklore 1, Mythology and Folklore 2, and we're at the end. Like, it's Thanksgiving, so we'll be leaving his class in a little while. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's the end. So, and he's like, I'm sorry, y'all. I just like to make sure my throat is clear because I hate when it have that gargly sound when I'm talking. But I had called B and I asked B, like, okay, well, is the coast clear? Did they make up? Blah, blah, blah. He was like, no, they didn't make up. And really, to be honest, I'm thinking about doing something real crazy tomorrow. I'm like, what are you talking about? He was like, he's thinking about taking the rap for it. And he said he was going to surprise Professor R by doing it because he didn't want him to show no pre-emotions. Like, it was some kind of setup because he didn't want to be like completely deceitful to Professor R's wife. But he said he believed in soulmates and he believed in past lives too. Like, after Professor R had taught us all the stuff that he taught us, and talk to us about all the things that he had talked about throughout our experience with him with Mythology and Folklore 1 and 2. He had began to believe that he had a soulmate or twin flame himself. Okay, so that's why he said that, I just really feel like those type of relationships is none of, Professor R's wife's business. I really feel like it's a personal thing, and I feel like it's something that someone have to work through, because I feel like we transform, like, at different versions of ourselves. And I mean, Madeline isn't even physically there, so who is she to get mad over a ghost? And then I told him, I was like, the reason why she is mad is because it's a ghost. Like, who wants to be cheated on with a ghost? You know what I'm saying? Like, you're emotionally investing in a ghost. Like, what the heck? And so he didn't look at it that way, and I kind of like opened that up to him, and he started to be a little more sympathetic toward Professor R's wife, but he still wanted to take the rap for it. So B had asked me to come and pick him up because he didn't want to drive, and he didn't know where the neighborhood was that Professor R had moved into, but I did. So I had went to go pick B up. I went to go pick up May, and then we all drove. Well, I drove everybody to Professor R's house. So we pulled up to Professor R's house. His wife is so nice. She's like a ray of sunshine. Like, I'm talking like if a sunflower was a person, this would be Professor R's wife. So it's almost like surreal to hear that Professor R's wife is like upset about anything like that, because it's like, how does somebody that's a literal sunflower get upset? And so she's still, hosting, and everything is fine. And then when it gets down to the point where we're all about to sit at the dinner table and everybody's getting comfortable, like getting in their spot where they want to sit or whatever, she's like setting the food out, and he sparks up a conversation after. Well, she wants to say prayer. She likes to say prayer, so she had said a prayer, and then B began to spark up a conversation. He has sparked up a conversation with Professor R in front of her, as if he was talking to him about Madeline, as if Madeline was his soulmate instead of Professor R. So this is what B did. He was like, hey, Professor R. He was like, thank you so much. I want to tell you what I'm thankful for. And Professor R was like, what are you thankful for? He was like, I'm thankful for you because you helped me deal with a spiritual situation that I was going through. I never thought in a million years that, you and your wife would just so happen to, live next door to the spiritual experience that I've been experiencing myself. And Professor R was looking at him like he was crazy. He was like, yeah, Madeline, this is what B just kept talking while looking at Professor R, look at him like he's crazy. He said, yeah, Madeline, seeing her in my dreams for many, many years, not knowing who she is, not being able to contact the spiritual realm, not being able to contact on the other side and see what's going on because I didn't have any help, or I didn't have anyone that could help me. I'm very, very happy to find you, and I'm thankful to find you, Professor R. Thank you for helping me find someone that I feel like I had a spiritual experience with, and I want to thank you for, allowing me to be open with you about such a weird experience. His wife, her face was pale. Pale. She believed it. She sure did. She believed every bit of it. Everybody at the table believed it. Hell, I believed it. That's how good of a liar that B was in that moment. Okay. B really, really lied for Professor R as if he was lying to the FBI. Okay? Lying to the police. Lying to the no. He was lying. You know how people be when they be in their interrogation room? Oh yeah, and then I was over there, and then I was this, and then I was that. Yeah, he was lying. He was lying. And Professor R's wife, she believed it. Professor R believed it. He stopped looking at B like he was crazy and started believing their own lie. He started having a full-blown conversation with B about this. They just had a full-blown lying conversation at the table. That experience made B and Professor R more closer. They had began to build a friendship after that, and it was honestly a beautiful friendship. It really was. I was happy for B because B was very mean. He was a skeptical to the point where he had no sympathy for nobody, never, and didn't care about not having it. And it's something about him having sympathy and for Professor R in that moment that I can see he softened up. He softened up on Professor R. By the time we were in the fall season and we were taking Mythology and Folklore Part 2 and we were almost done with Professor R's class, he was basically talking to Professor R as if he was his old uncle. Okay. After that, Professor R never lied to his wife, like about women or ghosts again. He said that he realized that almost losing a person that was actually in front of him for something that was so strong in spiritual, in a spiritual sense, it wasn't worth it. He said that he felt like a fool when he was done, when B was done lying for him and they got up from the table and we left and he was able to sit by himself. He said that he definitely sat down and thought about his wife's perspective, and he thought about how stupid it was of him to even start an emotional connection with anyone else while being married to her, regardless of what he thought that person was or felt that person was. He had already made a commitment to her, and she had been nothing but good to him, so it was not fair to her. And he talked about that. He talked about it. He said that that was an experience that he needs to go through to stop being selfish in his relationships. And so B, he learned some sympathy, and Professor R learned to stop being selfish in his relationships. It really did. It saved his marriage. He is still married to his wife, that beautiful sunflower, to this day. Yeah. And I'm talking I took this class when I was young. Okay. We're just going to say I was young. And so, yeah, it was a very, very surreal experience. No, I did not get a chance to like contact Madeline or see any ghosts or anything in this story, but it was surreal to see somebody like really hooked up in cheating on their wife with a ghost. Like, I mean, seriously courting this ghost like on a day-to-day basis. I'm sorry about that. Somebody's car was going by. I have my window open. Oh my God. And so, yeah, that moment in my life. That's when I got to see two people change right before my eyes. Two guys that I had been around for a while. Okay, I thought they were gone, but they weren't. I'm back. But yeah, yep, that was an experience that Professor R needed to go through, and maybe B needs to go through so he can have some sympathy for his friends or people that he cared for and love. Okay, and I'm not necessarily saying that him lying for Professor R was a good thing or anything like that, because I'm pretty sure Professor R could have still learned his lesson, like even if B did not lie for him. But it's like he just sped up the process, and it was like two birds killed with one stone, because he had enough sympathy to do it. Like, just take the rap instead of letting Professor R take the rap like that. He took it off of him, and I've never seen B do anything that was selfless before. And Professor R said that he was the one that was never selfless. He was the one that was always selfish in his relationships. So that was the story that I have today about the time that my professor cheated on his wife with a ghost, with all of the courting and the flowers and the roses and the candy and the emotions that he was building up for this person. I mean, I'm talking like Professor was really all in. Looking at these pictures, sleeping with these pictures, falling asleep, yearning for this Madeline. Okay. Getting caught up in a spiritual psychosis almost. Okay. So I gave you guys 2 videos today. I'll be back tomorrow, hopefully. I mean, tomorrow is the 4th of July, so I don't even know if you guys are going to be here. You guys may be out tomorrow. So I don't know if I'm going to upload tomorrow, because you guys may be having fun. Okay, you guys may want to go look at the fireworks. You may want to go get with your boo. You may want to go to your auntie house, your cousin house. I don't know. So I might not come tomorrow. Heck, I might want to get me a sparkler. Okay. But I'll be back. I have more videos for you. I have more stories for you. Professor R definitely has a lot of stories, but my next one, it's not going to be about him. I already know what I'm going to tell you guys about, and I'll be back. And good night, and you guys have fun.